So the general objective of this project is to facilitate the coordination and projection of the voices of communities affected by insecurity and promote their involvement in designing and implementing workable solutions to insecurity in their communities and enhance access to justice to poor and most vulnerable groups who are disproportionately affected by a dysfunctional criminal justice system. To amplify the narratives and voices of communities affected by insecurity, to ensure that they are involved in identifying and implementing workable solutions to insecurity in their communities. The reason for this is that most of the times in communities affected by insecurity, the narratives you hear are narratives by governments or security agencies or even the bandits who attack them. You don't get to hear the narrative of the community, what the true experiences are. So part of this is to amplify the narratives of and the voices of those communities so that we get the truth about what is happening and get them to be involved in identifying and implementing workable solutions to insecurity in their communities. Then to enhance access to justice to the poor and more vulnerable victims of police abuse through increasing the capacity of activists for timely intervention and engagement with relevant police authorities. You know that police abuse in Nigeria has a social class bias. The poor are mainly targeted and affected. Those who are easily arrested by the police, who easily find their way to prison, are poor people. So the criminal justice system seems to more, affect the poor. So the idea of this is to enhance access to justice to this, this class of citizens, the poor and the more vulnerable. This is actually to let the public know that there is this opportunity for victims of police abuse to report and get free legal support. So this project is being implemented in 4 target states, namely Anambra, Lagos, Rivers, and Kaduna. Of course, because of limited resources, it is not easy to cover the whole country. But for now, we are focusing on 4 states: Anambra, Lagos, Rivers, and Kaduna. But with what is happening in Kaduna today, the current security situation in Kaduna State, we are likely to review that state as one of our focal states. Increasing insecurity in Nigeria and the manifest incompetence of the Buhari-led federal government. This government, national progress, cohesion, development, prosperity, and a sense of patriotism have been impeded, in fact have been eroded. Life has become worthless in Nigeria. The situation in Nigeria has never been as tragic before as it is today. If we do a flashback to the past administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, when, on account of insecurity, corruption and mismanagement of the economy, Buhari and other chieftains of the APC, who were then in the opposition, marched freely in the city of Abuja in what they tagged Salvation Rally, protesting against the menace of Boko Haram, the abduction of the Chibok girls, and many other security challenges. We may probably feel a sense of nostalgia. A lot of people are now feeling that, can we ever get back to the Jonathan era, which for me is tragic. In 2014, Buhari and key members of this government, including Lai Mohammed, Obonayono, Chibike Amechi, Femi Gbadzabiamila, among others, accused the Jonathan government of corruption, of not being respectful of the rule of law, They called him incompetent. They called Jonathan incompetent and asked him to resign. They promised change and asked Nigerians to vote them to turn Nigeria around and to take Nigerians to the proverbial promised land flowing with milk and honey. Today, 7 years after Buhari took over, insecurity has worsened rather than abate. Bandits, kidnappers, rapists, and terrorists have taken over the land and fully in control, with the government completely absent. Corruption looks more like the fundamental objective and directive principle of the Buhari administration, with corrupt public officials protected by impunity. Rule of law is in abeyance as court orders, the Constitution, and other laws are ignored by government officials and agencies, with President Buhari leading the way. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Peaceful protests, which they benefited from, which they deployed in their campaign against Jonathan, unmolested, have been criminalized. The economy is in complete shambles, with national resources frittered away and trillions borrowed every day by the executive in connivance with the legislature, which freely approves for them to borrow more without demanding accounts for the use of previous borrowed funds, thereby mortgaging the future of generations unborn. Despite the huge borrowings ostensibly to combat terrorism, insecurity continues to grow. The recent terrorist attacks in Kaduna and other parts of the north have heightened growing concerns about insecurity and the failure of the government to do anything about it. Nigeria has become an ungoverned space. The country is moving on its own internal dynamics, with Nigerians on their own without government. If you consider the sheer number of security formations in Kaduna State, note that is security formations. If you consider the sheer number of security formations in Kaduna State alone, you wonder why Kaduna has been overrun by terrorists and the people under siege. In Kaduna State, there are well over 30 different security, military, DSS, police, civil defense, and so on and so forth. Yet, Kaduna is under siege. If these characters in government today were the same people who marched in Abuja and asked Jonathan to resign on account of corruption, incompetence to tackle insecurity, and manage the economy, why are Nigerians also not asking them to resign, since they have failed woefully and the situation is worse today than ever before? Travel by train became the safest means along the Kaduna-Abuja axis as terrorists practically took over the roads, with neither the Kaduna state government nor the federal government able to rein in the monsters. The monsters that have taken over the land, making life miserable for Nigerians. But with the Kaduna train attack in the last week of March 2022, the shootings, the killings, abductions, and demand for ransom by the terrorists. Remember, the terrorists are not only demanding for ransom, they are also demanding that their sponsors in custody should be released as condition for them to free the hundreds of abducted people, the people that abducted following the attack. It is clear that Kaduna, like many other states in the northern axis, have come under full control of terrorists. Government, which now exists only in the name, is either incompetent or complicit. The government or some elements within government are in cahoots with the terrorists has become manifest, with the terrorists telling us that government knows what they want. If not that the terrorists said so, how would Nigerians have known that the sponsors of terrorism have been in government custody? Yet terrorism is not abating. And why are they not facing trial? Instead, those facing terrorism trial are innocent citizens fighting for good governance or those associated with self-determination agitations. These are the people facing terrorism trial. The terrorists have told us that their sponsors have been in custody of government. Yet the government did not tell us, and they are not standing trial. The train attack was preceded by an attack on the Kaduna airport 2 days before, and there was at least one casualty. Airlines have temporarily cancelled flights to Kaduna. Government's response to insecurity has been typical and predictable. They do the same thing they have always done each time there is a major incident. Of course, Nigerians are kidnapped every day without government's intervention, either to rescue the kidnapped victims or prevent further kidnappings. But in many cases, families and communities are the ones that rally around resources to pay ransom to secure the release of their kidnapped relatives. Each time a major incident happens, the president will summon the service chiefs and heads of security agencies, issue fresh directives that they should get ruthless with the terrorists. Government spokespersons will issue statements expressing condolences, assuring Nigerians of government's concerns and commitment to tackle insecurity. The vice president will be dispatched to visit wounded victims in hospitals, and they will wait for the next one to happen. And the cycle will then repeat. Evidently, this government has no solution to insecurity or any other challenges confronting Nigeria. Compare the billions government recently claimed they spend monthly on school feeding and how much ASO has been demanding for the educational sector. You will understand the sincerity and priorities of this government. Where, by the way, are these school children being fed with billions every month? With billions, with thousands of school-age children out of school, and with dilapidated educational institutions. Where are this money being spent? Where are these children that are being fed with billions of naira every month? Where are the institutions where these children are going to school? What is clear today is that this government has failed to tackle insecurity and has left Nigerians at the mercy of dangerously armed and merciless terrorists, in spite of the humongous expenditure and borrowings ostensibly to combat terrorism. It is either that government is incompetent or it is complicit. Either way, whether it is incompetence or complicity, either way, this government should resign. There is no sign or evidence that this regime can do better. The option Nigerians are left with is that as we approach 2023, we must take interest and begin to prepare to ensure that we elect only competent people who are capable of delivering good governance. I just thought that we needed to dwell a little bit on the ongoing conflict between the Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police Force. There's been a lingering standoff, and the president has continued to be silent as the Nigerian Police Force continues to engage the Police Service Commission in a needless and endless dispute over which of the agencies has the power for police recruitment. And for me, the silence of the president is a further indication of failure of leadership in Nigeria. Since the law is clear on the mandates and powers of the MPF and the PAC, respectively, especially after the Court of Appeal clarified the matter in a 2029 ruling, it was expected that the dispute would be over. The Court of Appeal had nullified the recruitment of 10,000 constables conducted by the Inspector General of Police in 2019. The Appellate Court also declared as illegal aspect of the Police Act 2020 which illegally transferred the mandate of police recruitment from the Police Service Commission to the Nigerian Police. So the president ought to have intervened to tell each of the agencies to stick to their mandates as stipulated by the Constitution and the respective establishment laws, and to comply with the law as we have it today with the order of the appeal court, ruling of the appeal court on this matter. But of course, pecuniary interest is at the root of this conflict between the Police Service Commission and the NPF, because there's a lot of money available for police recruitment. So it is about the money. If you know how much the IG sends as budget for police recruitment, you'll understand why the police wants to insist on taking over the mandate of the Police Service Commission. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mismanagement of the Police Trust Funds Act and the ICPC's endless investigation. You know that as a result of the perennial underfunding of the Nigerian police, which is responsible or partly responsible for their ineffectiveness, inefficiency, that civil society advocacy led to the setting up of a police trust fund to provide an additional window for funding for the police. Now, the act was signed into law in 2019 by President Buhari. The first allocation made to the police trust fund suddenly became a subject of dispute between the Board of Trustees of the PTF and the management. Since September 2021, the ICPC, that's the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offenses commission, has been investigating allegations of mismanagement of over 11 billion naira police trust fund and the procurement of substandard equipment for the Nigerian police. It has been 7 months since this investigation commenced by the ICPC, based on a petition by some disgruntled members of the PTF Board of Trustees, alleging that the management of the PTF contravened the approval and procurement procedures, mismanaged funds, and procured substandard equipment for the police, which could put the officers in harm's way. This has sabotaged the objective of improving funding for the police to enhance their welfare and operational capabilities, and ultimately improve security. We call on the ICPC for the umpteenth time, because we have made this call earlier, to conclude this investigation, make the findings public, and ensure that those who are found culpable in mismanaging 11 billion naira police trust fund and procuring substandard equipment are brought to account.